I spent 200 days in Valheim, but this time with a mod called EpicLoot. And what it does is it enables monsters to drop equipments with different rarities and stats. So join me as I explore this world of Valheim again with this mod and see how crazy it gets. And if you haven't watched part 1 yet, I'll link it down in the description below. So without further ado, let's begin. Resuming our journey, I jumped from island to island in the Mistland because for some reason, the Mistland that my seed generated is full of islands. I eventually stumbled upon this diverger. Totally not sure how you pronounce this. Anyways, my goal here was to get a certain item from a chest inside their tower. And since they were pretty busy with a certain monster outside, I'm gonna sneak in and get the item. I was preparing myself mentally to kill this mage, but I guess the monster outside destroyed the chest for me, so I did not need to be hostile towards the verger. There was actually a giant flying tick outside, and with my bow, I tried to kill it by luring it back to the tower. I'm not sure if I'm actually dealing damage or not, but my indicator would be if my bow levels up after a while, and it did, so I guess I'm doing damage. So this thing was actually called a Gajal, and yeah, it's a giant flying tick that lays egg to more ticks, but yeah, with our bow on hand, we destroyed this thing. I then jumped down and destroyed its babies, the baby ticks. I looted a bunch of new items from killing these guys, but none of them were of interest right now. Anyhow, I resumed my journey, hopping from one island to another island because I hate this generation, I swear to God. I wish it was just one land. Anyhow, I went home for now so I can get some of my black metal and I can start making these extractors for saps. I then tended my farm because we still need a lot of these onions later on. I then made a new food buff called the Mist Hair Supreme. I then fermented a bunch of major healing needs. For our new food buff, we have the Meat Platter and Mist Hair Supreme, which adds a lot to our HP. Currently though, I don't really have a lot of those hair meats, so I can't really craft some more. And for the stamina buff, I'm going for the salad. I then went to the merchant and tried my luck on the lightning spear, hoping to get something like higher than rare. But I only got magic, and well, I guess this is fine. And with my lightning spear, I harvested my barleys. I think this is way faster than pressing E on my barleys one by one. And one by one, I inserted them to my windmill to turn them into flour. I eventually reached the end of the Mistland Islands and had to craft myself a ship to find another island. Hopefully the next island we stumbled upon has a lot of land and not islands. I then stumbled upon another diverger base, but yeah, I can't seem to reach it. Like, I even tried making a stairs. I guess it's not that high, but yeah, I just can't. So for now, I went home and then went to another portal to get the extracted saps. Going back to the diverger camp that I can't reach, I decided to craft myself a boat and try to approach this thing. We kind of have a slight problem here. The mage and the rogues are already hostile, and the mage's AoE destroyed the bridge, and now we're back to square one, but this time I was dying because I forgot to buff up myself with food. Ultimately, I died because I ran out of stamina. I wanted to log out, go to another world, but I had my stamina potions. I was hopeful that I can escape here. But yeah, the Diverger Rogue shot me with its bow and I died. I, of course, returned for my items and then tried to run as fast as I could. And for my second attempt in reaching the base, I decided to kill off the divergers first with my bow. That would have been a smarter idea on my first run. I then went home, grabbed a few items so I can build myself a raft. So I have a platform to jump on so I can get to this base. Upon reaching the base, I got myself a bunch of soft tissues from the crate. But then again, there was another mage inside here. But I managed to get the diverger thingies, the rod thingies. So our job is done here. I can just ignore this mage. I hate this place. Why is it full with water? Why can't it be just land? I then found myself another infested mine, but I have to take care of these seekers. One was a 1-star seeker and the other one was just your regular seeker. I had a bit of trouble because my potions were expiring and I wasn't using the best potions at the moment. But yeah, good thing I had some health potions to heal me up. I don't want to risk dying because I don't really have any portal set up near here. Anyways, after killing the Seeker, I set up a portal outside, so if ever we die inside the dungeon, we have an easy way of going back in. And so I raided the infested mine. My goal was the black core plus the seal breaker fragments. The seal breaker fragments are these things, and I need about, I think, 9 to make the seal breaker in order to fight the queen or the boss in this biome. So yeah, we have a long grind ahead of us because we gotta look for like 10 of these. Found a lot of black horse in this dungeon as well as the location of the queen. It was actually very close to where I was been. So the only thing I need to do now really is just to get more of those fragments and make the seal breaker. And now, with enough black cores, I can make myself the Ather Refinery. I made sure to cover the area I placed this with rocks so that it doesn't damage my base once it's processing some saps. So with all the soft tissues we have obtained so far, this soft tissue will be the fuel to refine the sap into Ather. The reason why there's rocks blocking this thing is because once it's processing like the sap, it will shoot out random lasers like this and it damages the building. So it's great that we have some block here that it doesn't damage our base. And with the 8 tier obtained from the refinery, we can now make the Galder. I swear, I'm sorry. I'm not really sure how I'm pronouncing this, if it's right or wrong. But yeah, we have obtained the refined Aether and we now have a Galder table, which means we can now make mage items. So of course, I changed my gears to somewhat like a mage because I wanted to try out magic. See if I would enjoy it on this run. I headed back to the Mistlands to try out my magic. And the damage was pretty good considering I'm still level 1 in elemental magic. It's pretty decent. But my Aether regeneration was very slow and I miss being a melee already. For now, I decided to fight the Bone Mass again so I can get the trophy to convert it into a magic runestone so we can enchant some of the mage gears that we don't have yet. And as you can see, because our Aether regeneration and the amount of Aether we have right now was very low, it's gonna take a while to actually defeat this guy. For my melee weapons like the Frostneer or Porcupine, I actually left it in a chest at home. And because of this experience fighting the Bone Mass with magic and no poison resistance, I actually decided to just go for melee because magic wasn't for me at this point. I then fought the Bone Mass again, but this time with my melee gears, and damn, it really feels amazing how I have the lifesteal right now. I fear nothing, just whacking this thing, healing up after whacking this thing. Farming this guy was probably the easiest thing to do right now, and it's the only source of runes I have at the moment. I mean, I could fight the Moder or Yagluth, but it would take some time. And I'm pretty satisfied with just enchanting equipments with Epic instead of like getting Mythic or Legendary. After all that farming, I enchanted my Mistwalker into Epic and I have a pretty decent stat on it. I re-enchanted or augmented the parry though as I didn't need it and I got myself a 2.5% lifesteal. This was gonna be an amazing sword. I then continued my adventures at the Mistlands, looking for some huge land or something, not islands like this. I found another infested mine, hoping I can get more of the seal breaker seal fragments. Also, while fighting these seekers, I feel like I should remove the fire enhancement on my Mistwalker because I think it removes the frost debuff? I'm not totally sure, but yeah, Mistwalker has like spirit and frost, and I think with fire, the frost debuff doesn't work on these monsters, but I'm not sure. It looks like they're debuffed with frost as well. But still, it's better to have only like one element, maybe. So I re-augmented it and got myself a 7% slash damage. I then went back to the infested mine and the raid continues. I really wanted a lot of those seal breaker fragments. I can't wait to fight the queen. I feel like I'm ready. My lifesteal will enable me to survive anything at the moment. In this mod, there are actually sets if the item is a legendary item. There's something called the Ragnar's Fury and Heimdall's Legacy. And I'm planning to get the Heimdall's Legacy because if you have like the 4 items in a set, you have this skill that can enable you to revive once and with a cooldown of like 20 minutes. In this mine, I believe I got about 4 seal breaker fragments and a lot of items because, you know, as you can see, it's infested with insects inside. So it made it really easy to find gears here. I then had to set sail again to find another Mistland location because this area is just full of islands and I think I already explored all the infested mines in the area. Upon landing on the next area, I then found a mines of the Diverger. I honestly wasn't hostile against these guys, but the moment I started mining, they got angry, so I had to fight them back, of course. We could have handled this peacefully, but they wanted war. The only reason I was mining that was because I needed more marble. And so after dealing with all the divergers, I continued mining the petrified bone for some marbles. I then found another infested mine, but I had to clear up a bunch of seekers outside so I can place my portal. And so the raid continues. Every time I enter one of these infested mines, I'm only hoping for one thing and one thing only. Seal breaker fragments, please. After raiding that infested mine, I have a total of like 8 seal fragments. Just one more, and we can start fighting the queen. The entire set of the Carapus armor, I think I'm ready. And it's all like legendary or something. And so I continued looking for more infested mines. So the grind continues. And here I found a second part of the set we were looking for. Now we have 2 out of 4. Let's go. Sadly though, this thing didn't have featherfall like my previous pants. But it's okay. We can try re-enchanting some of the stats of this. Maybe we can get the featherfall. I searched the entire mine, but there was no seal breaker fragment in this place. I have to look for one more mine in hopes that there might be that seal breaker fragment. I went home for now and tried enchanting the new armor and I got a featherfall. Let's go. I tried killing a Gijal on top of it, but it seems it didn't work out. So I decided to just go and look for that dungeon I'm leading to go for. And finally, we found the last infested mine. Hopefully the seal breaker fragment is here. And the moment I entered the mines, the seal breaker fragment was there and my job here was done. It was time to craft the seal breaker and fight the queen. With the current gears I have, I think it's gonna be an easy fight. We have lifesteal on our mist sword, as well as our armor set providing us with a lot of health regeneration, armor, health, and everything you can possibly think of. So I immediately went to where the queen was, dropping on a lot of seekers guarding the entrance. With my hammer, I easily cleared out this mob. And with the seal breaker, I opened up the vault. And I entered the infested citadel. And after looking around, I finally found the queen. Well, it found me, but yeah. It was a huge insect creature that looked very terrifying, but yeah, I got the armor to tank some of its hits. I tried fighting it with my arbalist, but it wasn't really doing that much damage than what I expected, so I'm gonna turn into melee combat now with the power of the bone mass. It should go pretty smooth. Probably the most annoying thing about this fight is that every time the queen attacks, I get knocked back pretty far and I have to like go near her again, and that takes a bunch of my stamina. So yeah, I'm pretty tanky as you can see here. I basically just tank everything right now. We have like 4 minutes of physical damage immunity with our bone mass buff. But maybe once this wears off, I'm gonna go back to attacking with my arbalist or try to play this safe with my hammer behind walls or something. From time to time, the queen does run away. I don't know why. Am I really that much of a threat to her? But anyways, our bone mass buff is just 3 minutes left. I could like maybe chill for 20 minutes and wait for my bone mass to reset again once it's gone. Or I could just hit and run with my hammer. I do have some HP potions as well in my inventory. So I shouldn't be that scared on fighting this queen. And now that our bone mass is running out, my strategy would be to lure the queen towards the entrance where there's like a wall that prevents it from attacking us, but we can still attack it behind the wall with our hammer. For now though, I decided to go home. I repaired my gears and headed to bed for that lovely rested buff. I then went back to fight the queen again, but she regenerated a bunch of her HP. It's not a full heal, but yeah, a bunch of her HP. But if we waited like maybe 20 minutes, I guess she would like fully healed. So this is pretty fine. We have our cooldowns on our HP pots, and I think we can tank some of the damage she's been dealing with our life steals. For the strategy I'm talking about, it's this thing right here. I can go at the entrance, just hide behind the wall and slam the ground with my hammer, and the queen will still get damaged. This battle lasted pretty long because the queen just doesn't chill near the entrance. She runs away like that from time to time. So I have to lure her again towards the entrance. And once she's lured again, more hammering will commence. Actually, I didn't need to wait for my bone mass buff to reset because at this point, I just decided to go all in with the queen since we still have our health potion buff anyways. And with this final jump attack, well, not really. With those slashes, I have defeated the queen. I then went back to my shrine and hanged the trophy to the rock altars. Probably not gonna be using the queen's power since we don't use Ather. So now only the last boss remains, the giant big green dragon. By defeating the queen, we got an item called the Majestic Carapus. And with this, we can improve our artisan table, and it enables us to craft something called a ceramic plate and a shield core. We'll need about 30 of these plates, I believe, to make the Drakkar. Drakkar is the only ship that can go through the Ashlands because the water there is pretty hot and all the other ships will just get destroyed. But the Drakkar can withstand the heat. I've already prepared all the materials needed to craft the Drakkar. The only thing left now for me is to look for more cores to enable me to make even more portals once we reach the Ashlands. I could have went to my, my suitor farm to get the cores, but I decided to just raid a dungeon so I can get some gold as well, so I can buy items from the merchants. I then raided a bunch of troll caves as well, as these guys or these caves give like a bunch of gold in their chest. I then went back to the Mistland because it was now time to craft the Drakkar so we can make our way to the Ashlands. It's going to be a long journey, but with our mortar buff, it's gonna be, I guess, faster for the next 5 minutes. Getting close to the end of the map, basically just running through the bottom part so we can reach Ashlands, I encountered a bone maw. It is a sea creature that frequents the Ashlands. So with my arbalest, I tried my best to, make it go away. So before we actually enter the Ashlands, there are a bunch of these spiky rocks that are like surrounding the island or the area. So I have to carefully avoid these things while also defending my boat from creatures like this bone maw right here. And as I continued my journey avoiding spiky rocks to another spiky rocks, it eventually got tired of chasing me, so I resumed my adventure looking for land. I sometimes had moments where I actually got stuck because I guess I wasn't properly navigating my ship. And after struggling for a bit, I eventually managed to escape getting stuck. Eventually, in the distance, I saw burning trees and I knew that I was already in the lands of Ashland. And what greeted me here was a bunch of vultures trying to kill me and trying to destroy my ship. So with my arbalest, I tried my best, but instead I did a friendly fire on my ship. So I resorted to using my sword instead, also hitting my ship along the way. Look, that kinda sucks, but hey, we took care of the vultures. Upon landing, the very first thing I did, of course, was make a portal. So if ever we die, we have somewhere to come back to. I then fought a bunch of these lava slimes, the charred warriors as well. These lava slimes are pretty dangerous, as if you get near it, they would explode just like that. They would deal a lot of damage if we were close, but luckily we weren't that close. Anyways, I continued battling a lot of vultures and charred skeletons. They were really abundant here. Like the spawn rate of this place, there's just too many enemies. But they were pretty weak against my Mistwalker sword, as it had like spirit damage on it, as well as an imbued frost on the weapon, I believe. Each time I progress on the area, I would leave a portal just in case like we don't notice, but monsters spawn randomly and like destroy your portals if you're not looking. So I just crafted a bunch of them randomly in place. From killing these guys, they eventually started to drop like the Ashlands gears, like the Flametal helmet and the Ashen cape and other Ashland stuff. But currently, my gears are kind of the best. We have like legendary gears which has really nice bonus stats. So I wasn't really tempted on changing my gears at the moment. Anyhow, I continued progressing in Ashlands, looking for new monsters to defeat. Here we encounter another creature of the Ashland, the Askven. It's a very strong animal-like creature that has a really strong knockback. They're also pretty tanky, so it takes a while for me to like kill them. They drop a lot of new stuff, like their meat for food and their hide for new items. Anyways, my current goal right now was to go to that area where there's like light shining in the sky. I mean, towards the sky. What those things are fortresses, and they usually contain the boss summoning item, which would be, in the case of Mulder, the bell. Also, one of the things here in Ashland are these monuments of torment, which I would rush to destroy because these things keep summoning those skeletons and they're very annoying the moment they like multiply. And for the set item, I found the Guardians of the God. The third part of our set item, we now have a skill called Bulwark once we wear the shield. I also got myself this legendary Flametal mace after defeating a skeleton. It had like 4.5% lifesteal, but when it says health critical, it means it will only activate once your HP is below like 30%. So I need to re-augment it and change the lifesteal. And try to find like the normal lifesteal which it doesn't need health critical. If you're wondering, this is what the Bulwark looks like. I am immune to all damage for 5 seconds. Isn't that amazing? For now, I teleported to my Flax Farm as I needed more fine wood. So I chopped a bunch of birch trees that were abundant in the plains. Afterwards, I visited the merchant. I was looking forward to a certain item in this merchant, which would be the Berserker Axes, because these things deal a lot of damage and it's pretty cool because it's dual axes. The stats I got though wasn't really great, and I did have a shield that is a set item on my armor set, so maybe I should just stick to sword and shield. I was still interested on the axes though, so I decided to re-augment it and got it some 2.5% lifesteal. I then went back to the Ashlands and tried out my axes, and immediately I loved it. But the moment I fought an Askven that was a 1-star beast right now, it was pretty bad compared to just my sword and shield. So I just went back to my sword and shield. Also, for the Bulwark, it had like a minute cooldown. So when I'm fighting like a very tough opponent and I don't have my bone mass buff, this is gonna be a really good buff. Or let's say a boss does its special move, I can activate my immunity for 5 seconds. I then raided the ruins of the Ashlands and I got myself a lot of smoke puff and fiddlehead ferns, which is gonna be useful in like making new food types or potions, I guess. I finally arrived at the fortress, but I remembered that I couldn't get in, not unless like I have a Battering Ram that needed like Flametal ingots. So yeah, at the moment I can't really get into the fortress unless I got that ram to break the gate. I needed to look for the Leviathan that was just around the lava. I also fought this skeleton spider thingy called the Morgan. It was a pretty tanky creature, but yeah, with our shield, it couldn't do anything to us. If you notice that I don't get knocked back, my shield had an enhancement called Immovable, so I don't get knocked back. As long as the shield is, you know, up, like I'm guarding something. And after looking for a while, I finally found a Leviathan. It's these huge or tall looking rocks in the lava. And I think it's called a basalt bomb. But anyways, with my basalt bomb, I can make platform in the lava. And here we can now mine the flametal ores. I actually did an oopsies here. And yeah, I fell in lava. Good thing we had a portal. So I got my items back and continued mining the Leviathan. I then went home and smelted all the flametal ores I had. I then slept to speed up the process. And after looting all the ingots that were made, I unlocked a bunch of new recipes for me to craft. I crafted an upgrade for my forge and my mage table. Also a cauldron upgrade which unlocked new recipes for food. I then upgraded most of my items since now it's a level 4 black forge. Afterwards, I resumed my journey waiting for all the flametal ores to process so I can make the Battering Ram next. There were these weird lava parts which I totally did not notice and I died. I did realize though that having Bulwark made me immune to lava for 5 seconds. Anyways, after getting my item, I crafted the Battering Ram and it was now time to invade this fortress right here. After I reached the gate, I activated the ram and started ramming the door. It did a lot of damage and eventually it opened the door. The fortress was filled with a lot of enemies. There were also a lot of mages here. My goal was to get inside and destroy the summoning thingies that summoned these soldiers. So we have things that makes us survive this place. One would be our bulwark and another would be our bone mass buff. Upon reaching inside the fortress, I hurriedly destroyed the effigy of Malice so it would stop summoning enemies. And once that was done, it was just now time to kill the remaining enemies in this place. From one of the chests here, I got myself an item called the Jade. It's basically an enhancement to the Ashland or the new weapons we have to imbue it with buffs. I also destroyed this thing called the Scug, which gives a cog or a cogwheel, and now we can make a catapult. There was still another gate inside the fortress which we need our battering ram to destroy, and upon destroying it, there it was, the bell fragment plus a chest that contained more jade and some molten cores. Just that one fortress was actually enough to craft 3 bells. You only need 3 bells to summon the boss. So the only thing left to do now was locate where the boss was, and I guess we beat the game. So I continued exploring the Ashlands, looking for that boss location or looking for where the boss was. I eventually got the final item on our set. Now we have the Undying passive. Sadly, the helmet was an Ather weave hood. But since we didn't have a choice, I guess I'll use this so we can have that revive. I re-enchanted a bunch of the unwanted stuff in this helmet like Ather, as well as the health critical thingy, because I'd rather prefer a passive that always work even if my health was 100%. While exploring to fight Mother, one of the monsters actually dropped this flaming sword. I believe this was a pretty rare sword. Not sure I'm pronouncing this right, but Derwin? Derwin? I don't know, let's just call it the flame sword. It has a lot of slash damage. Alright, I also found this cape here called Ragnar's Boneless Wrap. It is another set item that has health regeneration or the Berserker buff. But I only had this one. So yeah, sure, why not? I'll use it. Might find another piece in the future. And yes, we did. While resuming my journey, but for some reason the text goes like this. I can't really read it. But I can see that it's part of the Ragnar set. So now if we wear this, we activate one of the set effect, or 2 of the set effect. Health regen and health per tick. So we now have a legendary Berserker Axe that has really nice stats. Anyhow, I decided to use my Drakkar again. It seems that Mother was in another island, so we need to set sail in the sea. I really hate setting sail in Ashland because there's so many spiky things, spiky rocks that blocks our way. So I really need to be careful in navigating my ship in this area. If only we could use a smaller ship, but no, we gotta use this large ship. I eventually found land. It was now time to hop off and fight everything that we see here. And there it was. the boss area. It looks like an old Colosseum. So we found it. Alright. All that's left now was to clear the area and then prepare all the potions, the food buff that we need before we fight the boss. I luckily found a mythic item, but yeah, we already have our set armor, so this wasn't really that great. Around the boss area, I made about 2 portals. If ever something gets destroyed, at the very least, we still have like 1 to get back to. And after readying myself up in the base, crafting food, sleeping for a rested buff, it was now time to face the final boss. So I placed down all the required bells in order to summon the boss. I just realized I kept calling it Moder, but it's actually called Fader, the boss of Ashland. Anyways, with nothing else left to do, I feel I'm pretty prepared with my armor set that gives me resurrection. Like once every 20 minutes or something, I rang the bell and summoned the boss. And immediately the Ather's fear turned green. And there he was, our lovely giant green dragon that wants to kill us. So I rushed towards the Dragon Fader and did a slash attack, and it was pretty effective. 97, 90, 180. His damage was actually very strong. I had to run away and use my bulwark in order to survive. I wasn't really scared of dying because, as you know, I have my resurrection buff. So we're pretty fine right now. So I popped my bone mass, I popped my potion, and now I'm gonna be very tanky that I can basically just tank everything it does, maybe except for the fire attacks. I forgot to bring myself some fire resistance potion. And so I skedaddled from the place because I gotta get my fire resistance potion. I then went back after buffing myself up with fire resistance and initiated the fight once more. So Fader has a lot of really strong skills. Basically, his physical attacks are really strong, but we negate that with our bone mass. And his flaming green fire should really hurt, but we have our fire resistance potion, so it doesn't matter that much anymore. So I'm basically just tanking everything and just slashing this boss. I was hoping that I would have like a lot of stamina potions, but there's cooldown in like drinking stamina potions. I could make a lot of meads, the tasty meads, so I can regenerate more stamina, then regenerate health. Fader has this one ultimate move that even with all my buffs and resistances, he can kill me with one shot or deal a lot of damage. But we have our skill called the Bulwark that makes us resistant from all of these. But as you can see, I guess you can say that I got pretty conceited. I almost died twice. Good thing we have our first resurrection. Now it's on cooldown for 20 minutes. So I really need to learn to be more careful this time when he has his ult. Like run away, and if ever we're in a tough spot, we can activate the Bulwark then. Not activate the Bulwark and tank everything like what I did earlier. But now I learned my lesson and just ran away when like, you know, he activates a spiky ultimate attack thingy. So anyways, this battle lasted for a while. I reserved my Bulwark, like I said, when I'm in a tough spot. So that 5-second immunity will really save our lives. Since we don't have resurrection anymore, we can't be conceited anymore. This is just a cycle of like pushing towards his body and using my sword to slash him to death. And then shield up when he tries to do something like a stomp attack or push me away. So I don't get knocked back because, you know, my shield had a movable buff on it. My bone mass buff eventually ran out, but surprisingly, my lifesteal and my health regeneration could keep up from me dying. The only thing I really need to avoid was his spiky ultimate attack, which basically kills you. And once the dragon's health was pretty low, he started summoning a bunch of charred warriors. They weren't really hard to defeat, and also Fader's ultimate kills them as well, so that's a big plus on his ultimate. All we need to do is just really run away and then go after him once he's done with casting of his ultimate. And after a long battle, we eventually defeated Fader. There we go. And that's the last boss. Let's go. We have finished the game, I guess. I then went to the shrine and hanged the trophy. And with this, we have completed every trophy in the shrine. So thank you guys for watching my 200 days in Valheim video with Epic Loot. So don't forget to click that like and subscribe button. Consider being a member of the channel if you want to further support this channel. I would really appreciate it a lot. So anyways, thank you. Bye now.